Christians, John chapter 10, verse 5. Our Lord Jesus says, "Yet they will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers." Who is Jesus talking about? He's talking about his sheep. The first 4 verses, Christ spells out clearly that he's talking about his sheep, who he owns and who he calls by name. And they know his voice and they follow him. And as I said and pointed out in the previous post, they know him and they follow him and they can't follow any other. And that's what we're reading here in verse 5. He says, his sheep will by no means follow a stranger. They will flee from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. So what does this mean? Well, as I said in the previous post, that sheep are God's chosen people, given to Christ. And Christ laid down his life for these sheep. And they follow him and they know his voice. But what he says is, Jesus says, they will by no means follow a stranger. He's saying it is impossible for them to follow a stranger. Now, here's the most important part of this whole thing to be understood as I try to interpret this for you. And that is that everyone who is not Christ is a stranger to his sheep. And it is impossible for his sheep to follow them. Men have all kinds of saviors. If they are not Christ, they are strangers. And the sheep, the true sheep of Christ, will never follow them. They will only follow Christ. They only know his voice. And Jesus says they will flee from that stranger. They will flee. And if they ever go astray, as we will learn later, Christ himself goes and retrieves his sheep, so that he can say that at the last day, he will raise every one of them up, and not one will be lost, not a single one. No one that Jesus died for, no sheep that belongs to him will ever be in hell. Be provoked, be persuaded.